to order. Today is Tuesday, July 7, 2020, and the time is 2:33 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This meeting is being held virtually. I'm David Snyder. Would members of the council who are present please introduce themselves? Don't forget, you're probably muted, so pay attention to that.
William Collins, Vice Chairman.
Jackie Guthrie, GUAC member.
Do we have Mr. Anderson or Mr. Riggins?
Mr. Chair, this is Zainab. I'm actually talking with Mr. Anderson right now over the phone, and he's going to call in if you give him another minute or so.
We certainly can.
So David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jackie.
Okay, thank you. I logged off and logged back on, so. Okay.
In the meantime, do we have Mr. Riggins with us? I don't think I see him on our participants.
Mr. Chair, it's Zainab again. Mr. Anderson had some technical difficulties, so he'll just be calling in a minute or so.
That was, did you say Mr. Riggins?
Mr. Anderson, I have not yet spoken with Mr. Riggins. I can reach out to him.
Okay. In the meantime, for all of you who have chosen to spend your afternoon with us, we regret the delay. We appreciate your patience while we try and resolve technological challenges.
And Mr. Chair, I just spoken with Riggins. He's going to sign on any minute now. So hopefully we'll have everyone on the call.
Thank you for doing that. I had just reached for my cell phone to do the same.
Chairman Snyder.
Yes, Mr. Anderson, welcome.
I'm with you.
And we are pleased to note that. Thank you
Well,
for being here.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Mr. Anderson. This is Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
How are you?
We're hanging in there
Good, good for you.
one day at a time, dear.
I know.
I think we can all say that, Mr. Anderson.
Absolutely. And at my age, I get a half a day.
It ought to be a day and a half.
Right.
I see the lovely and talented Mr. Udall has joined us. In the meantime, we are waiting for Mr. Riggins to join us. If you would like to announce your participation, and you'd like to introduce yourself for the record, if you'll please type your name and affiliation into the chat function, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. And we will make sure that you're recognized in the minutes as being in the audience and paying rapt attention to the proceedings today. We have Carrie Schwartz. Mr. Romo, Mr. Hartman, Mr. Udall. Mr. Frost.
Those of us that have already signed in were officially recorded.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
And do we have a Mr. Riggins yet? Welcome, Mr. Romo. Okay. Were you about to say something, Ms. Henningsen?
No, nothing here.
Okay. We're going to stretch this out a little bit longer, but I do want to I want to keep things moving so that people logging on and hearing nothing but the sound of breathing will know that we're actually doing something. Before we get started, I would like to call upon Ms. Henningsen to introduce, for the record, members of the department staff who are here to either present or to assist in the logistics of the meeting. Ms. Henningsen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is Einab Henningsen here, and I manage the active management area section.
This is Melissa Sykes. I'm the Water Management Assistance Program Coordinator.
And this is Kennedy Shepard, Groundwater User Advisory Council Coordinator.
Thank you and welcome. I should point out that Ms. Shepherd is backstopping the technology, and so she is paying attention to individuals who might have questions or comments as we go through here, and she will keep us moving right along. So, without further ado, then, and before we get started, actually, there is one other thing for the that I would like to ask. When Ms. Henningsen emailed the supportive documents out for today's meeting, including the applications and the rating form, there was also a conflict of interest form. I'd like to ask members of the council present if there is anyone who wishes to declare a conflict of interest at this time with regard to any of the 5 applications. Mr. Collins?
Oliver Anderson, I have none.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Jackie Guthrie, I have none.
Okay. Mr. Collins is searching for his unmute button. There it is.
This is William Collins. I have none either.
Okay. I will share with the council that I believe I do have a conflict of interest with regard to the project-based STEM education. I happen to serve on the Water Resources Research Center's External Advisory Committee, and Project WET is a part of that overall WRRC program. So I will neither vote nor discuss that particular application. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I see that Scott Riggins has joined us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Riggins.
Seems to be muted, so we can unmute you, Mr. Riggins.
Thank you.
Unmuted.
Mr. Riggins, are you there?
Can you?
I heard you. I think I heard you, Mr. Riggins.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. And I believe
Very good.
I can hear you as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Riggins, I just asked if any member of the council had a conflict of interest with regard to any of the 5 applications before us today. And I've declared one for the project based STEM education. Do you have one, sir?
I do not believe I have any conflicts of interest in these cases.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Having resolved all of that, I am going to ask Ms. Henningsen if she has any additional introductory remarks. If not, then we will proceed with the first application. Ms. Henningsen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have some webinar logistics that Kennedy would like to go over just in case anyone has any issues or any problems. So if you wouldn't mind, she can go over that right now.
Please do so. Ms. Kennedy?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. So before I start, we just want to go over some webinar logistics for this meeting. Please make sure that if you are not speaking, please keep your phone muted. GUAC members, since you will be speaking the most, you are more than welcome to stay unmuted if you would like. If you have any questions or comments concerning any of the presentations, please feel free to put your comment in the chat box, and we will get to those at the end of each presentation. If you do want to speak to the council, that can be done during our call to public, so please put your name in the chat box, and when it comes time to that agenda item, I will unmute your audio and you can address the council. Finally, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, our help desk is available to you and their contact information is on the screen. And that is all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Appreciate the assist and the support. Okay, presentation number 1 is AMR meter replacement project. The requester is the Arizona Water Company, and the cost, estimated cost of this project is $114,298 and presumably no cents. Making the presentation, Mr. Robert Romo. Mr. Romo, the floor is yours.
And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt the flow here, but I just wanted to provide a few opening remarks about the grant for those who may not be familiar with what this meeting is all about. It's just going to take me and Melissa about a minute to go over before we dive right into the presentation.
I apologize for having interrupted your flow of information. Please proceed.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for that. So thank you again. So for those who may have not familiar with that, this special meeting of the PINAL GUAC meeting is focused on the application submitted towards the groundwater conservation grant. You may recall in previous meetings that we talked about this grant in the sum of $2 million that was appropriated by the legislators in January 2019 as part of the drought continuity agreement to support groundwater conservation projects and programs in the active management areas. This grant money is divided among the 5 active management areas on a per capita basis, with a minimum amount of $150,000 for AMAs with smaller populations. PINAL is one of those, and PINAL was allocated $150,000. This grant is administered by the Water Management Assistance Program, which also has the funds generated from groundwater withdrawal fees. And as Chair Snyder mentioned, we'll start by hearing the presentations about the 5 proposed projects that were submitted towards this grant, specifically for PINAL AMA. And just for the presenters, Melissa will advance the slides just to make the transition faster, so please feel free to just let her know and she'll advance the slide for you. Each presentation will take about 10 to 15 minutes, after which GUAC members will have about 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions and provide comments on the specific presentations. Melissa will now explain the second part of this process, which is the discussion that would be conducted after the presentations.
Thank you, Anov, Chair Snyder, and members of the council and public. After the presentations, we're going to move right into the application funding discussion, where the GUAC members will evaluate the projects according to their strengths, groundwater that's going to be conserved, the impact, cost effectiveness, and innovative qualities of the project, as well as taking into account the AMA needs and funding available. GUAC members who have a conflict of interest with one or more of the applications will be asked not to speak or ask any questions regarding that project they have the conflict of interest with. We'll start with the first proposed project, and after we after GUAC members finish their discussion and I take note of the comments, we'll move on to the second project. After we finish discussing the 5, I'll prioritize the list according to, or each member will have prioritize the projects from 1 to 5. 1 being the highest priority, and then I'll average the numbers and I'll prioritize the list so it has the highest ranked at the top and the lowest ranked at the bottom, and where the GUAC members could then make their final comments. When members feel comfortable with the prioritized list, you'll be asked to make the official funding recommendation to the ADWR director, who will make the final decision on the funding distribution. We're happy to take any questions before we get started.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes. Are there any questions for Ms. Sykes or Ms. Henningsen? Mr. Collins?
I have none.
Mr. Anderson?
No, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Guthrie? Any questions, Ms. Guthrie?
No question.
Thank you. Mr. Riggins?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sykes, let us proceed.
Our first presenter is going to be Robert Romo with Arizona Water Company.
Good afternoon, Chairman Snyder, members of the council. Thank you for allowing us to have this time in front of you today. Today, we're going to talk about our automatic meter reading platform that we're rolling out. Next slide, please. So we are requesting a grant to purchase and implement Census AMR-enabled water meters and registers. And this equipment is already proven to us that, to show a great decrease in water use. And after this presentation, during this presentation, you'll see how we've already shown that. Next slide, please. Just a quick background. Water systems in PINAL AMA, we have the Stanfield, Casa Grande, Arizona City, Tierra Grande, Coolidge, and Coolidge Airport. Next slide. We have over 30,000 water service connections right now. And currently we have 6 manual data entry handheld units that are used every day of the week to read those 30,000 plus meters. Next slide. In 2014, the company, we started an AMR pilot program in Tierra Grande. We installed 389 meters. 70 of us were Census, 160 were Neptune, and 159 were Badgers. And they were all outfitted with the Itron electronic radio transmitters. And the real purpose of that was we knew the benefits of the AMR systems, the transmitters, but we also wanted to make sure that we were using the right meter with that to get the ultimate measure, of water over a period of time and see what we could do to help decrease that. And what we found in that is that the performance of the AMR technology, coupled with our tiered water rates, produced a saving of 20 acre-feet per year after the technology was installed. Next slide. And here, what you'll see is after 1 million gallons of use, you'll see our breakdown in the flows, and you'll see the Census SR2. Even after 1 million gallons, was still picking up almost 80% of the water at 0.25 gallons per minute, whereas the other two, their performance was greatly reduced. And that's where we seem to have a lot of water, especially, with the use in restrooms and landscapes, that low flow where it just escapes us. Next slide, please. So here again, Tierra Grande has 2 wells that produce water and some tanks out there, and it's kind of like a little bit of an isolated system itself. So it's real easy for us to do a measurement of how much we reduce. So you can see the pumping with the combination of the AMR technologies, the better meters, and the tiered water rates had a huge impact in the amount of water we were pumping, groundwater we were pumping. Next slide. We have our own meter shop. It's located in Coolidge, Arizona, and we test all of our meters there. And it's not just the new meters that are coming in, but we're constantly testing our old meters and looking for anything that may have changed in the technology. We're constantly looking for a better meter. Next slide. So the company has already invested in the upgrade of the current meter program. We purchased and we're rolling out a new handhelds meter reading devices. We purchased the auto read software, smart point transmitters, meters with electronic registers, and walk-by, drive-by vehicle transmitters units. Next slide, please. And the company is focused on replacing the direct register reads with the electronic registers and Census smart points. The register placement on the meters in our system will with low total gallons and years. It serves to be more cost effective than doing that full meter replacement. We've been doing a huge meter change out program over the past couple of years. So we have a lot of new meters out there that are under that gallon mark. So instead of buying new meters, we'll just change out that register and go forward with that and get several years out of it. And then again, the installation of the smart point transmitters is the foundation for improving efficiency, but it's also the first step in us going to more of an automated system to where we'll, eventually the customers will be able to get direct access to their reads, see high use, and be able to, stop. Maybe they have a leak or something, take care of that in a more effective manner than what happens now. Next slide. So with the grant, what we would do is we would purchase for the PINAL AMA. Basically, we would purchase 1,452 census meters, 726 smart point modules, and we would have 2 vehicle-based reading stations for our trucks. And so we would invest, the company, Arizona Water Company would invest and match the total amount of grant that would be awarded to us of $114,424. We're phasing in this over the next, 3 to 5 years. Every year we will be phasing more and more into our system. Next slide. And I think that's about it right there. Any questions?
Okay. Let me now go through the roll, and I will ask members of the council if they have any questions. Gentlemen and lady. Mr. Collins.
Trying to identify how you're achieving the 20 acre-foot per year savings. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, if you go back to slide 7. What slide 7 will show.
I guess my question is there a true savings, or is it just the fact that you have a more efficient, more accurate reading register? It's just more accurately reading what the water usage is. It's not really a physical savings per se.
Well, it is a more accurate meter register, and with the technology, what it's allowing us to do is it's picking up the water use, and so the customers are addressing their leaks, and they're addressing the areas that would normally just flow, which ultimately gives us a reduced pumping amount. So yeah, it is more a more accurate register, but at the end of the day, because it's a more accurate register and we're able to read that information quicker with the AMR technology, we're able to address leaks before they happen faster, which again prevents us from pumping more groundwater out of the ground.
So you notify the customers that they've got an unusual increase in their water usage, which indicates a leak on their side?
Mr. Chairman, member of this council, right now we notify them when we're reading, we get notifications on our meter, and what we would do is we would then make contact with them or leave a door knocker letting them know that we're experiencing or seeing a higher read than normal.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Anderson. Do you have any questions? There we go.
Nothing currently, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Guthrie.
Yes, I basically had the same question that Bill did. it was, why does a more accurate meter reduce water with the exception of being able to maybe find a leak sooner? And I think the answer just confirmed what I was asking. So unless Robert wants to add anything to that.
I think it was addressed. I'm not sure if there's more to add on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Riggins, any questions?
I think Councilman Collins and Guthrie both enumerated what my question was going to be. I also have a concern that what we're truly doing is catching flows that weren't being recorded. We're not really saving water. We're catching flows that weren't being recorded. I also can see that maybe that can be a avenue into finding a leak and getting it repaired, but I think that would be the lesser of the aspects. But I believe the question has already been answered. Just wanted to enumerate my concerns on the same question.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Romo, any response?
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, yes, ultimately the meter and the meter technology is going to capture the flows that we would normally miss, and that we would and give us quicker access to notifying the customer of a potential issue, leak with their meter. But ultimately at the end, with everything that's with the combination of those, it helps reduce the amount that we're pumping because we're not losing that water. And we're able to actually report it, whereas, you know, in most cases, it just adds up to leak loss, which is lost water that we can't identify.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple of quick questions. Number one, I noticed in the total application narrative, not necessarily the slides we have before us today, that this project is in fact you intend to roll it out over not only the PINAL AMA, but the Phoenix AMA. Is that accurate?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So the other question that I have is that, as you know, as Ms. Henningsen said, we have $150,000 available in the pool for these applications. My question is, if in fact we were to look at this particular application, could it be reduced somewhat in scope and thereby cost?
Mr. Chairman, member of the council, yes, it could be reduced in scope and by cost. We're still going to proceed through with this program. Thank
you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if Melinda Whittington is available, she's Arizona Water. If there's anything she wants to add to that.
Ms. Whittington.
Hi, Mr. Chairman and council members. Yes, I put together most of the grant materials for this presentation. So we are fully ready to amend any receipt of money that we get, and we would just offset with our own funds.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rowan.
One more thing. The money and the materials would only be used in the Pinal Valley AMA that would be allotted to us. I just want to reiterate that's anything granted from that would only benefit the Pinal Valley AMA.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification as well. I had assumed that, but it's always good to have it said out loud. Okay, let us then move on to our second presentation. Ms. Sykes, did you want to introduce that one as well?
Sure. So we have Clayton Wild that's going to be presenting the Esri ArcGIS field rollout project from Arizona Water Company.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can,
Yes.
sir.
Very good. Well, hello, Chairman and the Committee. I'm Clayton Wild. I'm the GIS analyst for Arizona Water Company, and I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to present our Esri ArcGIS field rollout project for the groundwater conservation grant. It'll be a great opportunity for Arizona Water Company, so I just wanted to say thank you. Arizona Water Company is requesting this grant to add ArcGIS technology. The stated goal of the grant requirement was to be able to show a reduction in groundwater use over time due to the implementation of the project. And Arizona Water Company has many operational and water planning goals associated with the ArcGIS project. For this grant proposal, Arizona Water Company is focusing on locating leak detection and repair data collection to help drive the reduction in groundwater use. Arizona Water Company intends to migrate infrastructure data and implement the ArcGIS platform so that our coworkers will have the ability to view our underground utility systems, GEOCO found leaks, and repairs in real time. Field management will also be able to monitor our leaks, repair program success, and operations analysts will be able to use the data to monitor and affect the repaired leaks and groundwater pumping. Finally, planners will have near-time geographic data to develop capital improvement projects. Next slide. Arizona Water Company operates 22 water systems in the state of Arizona. 8 of those systems are inside an AMA. We have a very limited version of ArcGIS currently, and with this grant, we were able to expand our GIS program to include more operation features and just a lot more things that we can use to just be better analyze our information. Next slide. In the PINAL AMA, EWC operates 4 municipal water systems: PINAL Valley, which is east and west, Stanfield, TIERRA, GRANDE, and Coolidge Airport. In these 3 systems, there's approximately 31,400 connections, and the systems are spread across approximately 700 miles of the AMA. Next slide. This project is an enterprise-wide project that aims to migrate our existing CAD data to Esri Enterprise. We will create a direct field worker to database collection using Esri applications such as the Collector app, which allows workers to enter leak location data or well production meter reads in real time. The project will also allow us to create a central database for assets such as valves, pumps, wells, and tanks. The results of implementing this platform and apps will result in better data management for repair and replacement of physical assets. Improved locating and monitoring of main and service line repairs will reduce overall water loss. Less water lost in the distribution system results in less pumping for production and ground wells. Next slide. More positive outcomes of implementing this project are listed on the slide. Our organization has multiple systems, and this project will help us modernize how we monitor our aging infrastructure. We'll be able to collect real-time leaks and repair data. We will be able to analyze leak detection program success in a more efficient manner. The data collected will also help us plan for capital infrastructure replacement projects. While we are currently collecting groundwater pumping data, we intend to use this system to visualize results in a variety of ways so coworkers can better see our system health. And lastly, we have the ability to visualize each system to better present conservation messages that are relevant to full-time residents or part-time residents. Each system we have in the AMA is unique, and we want to be able to tailor its messaging. Next slide. By moving forward on this project, Arizona Water Company will be able to continue to reduce its water loss. As mentioned previously, the reduction in groundwater benefits groundwater savings. This project is an enterprise-wide project for Arizona Water Company, so we're discussing groundwater savings inside the AMA. The overall efficiency gained will also help our community water systems across the state. The breakdown of this project per connection is listed later, but the most important thing is to remember that the grant request is based only on connections inside the AMA. Arizona Water Company will absorb the entire cost of implementation for systems outside the AMA. As we have been mentioning, the plan is to leverage this technology with our current leak detection program and new leak detection equipment. Next slide. In the following two slides, we show the assets that Arizona Water Company has recorded currently. We are a statewide concern. The ability to collect data and maintain it in real time becomes an important task for our field employees. The explosive growth in our service areas has made it more difficult to manage, and all these assets, how we manage them appropriately. And we believe that implementing this ArcGIS will help our coworkers manage these assets more efficiently. Next slide. With the implementation of the ArcGIS platform, we intend to migrate our existing asset information as well as verify all the field information such as physical locations, field numbers, inspection dates, and maintenance records. Next slide. The overall cost of this project is planned to be $770,898. The PINAL AMA WMAP grant cost share request is $128,495.44 or $4.14 per PINAL AMA connection. As mentioned in the previous slide, the majority of the project costs will be borne by Arizona Water Company. We have applied for the WMAP grant in all three of the AMAs where we have systems. We decided to use cost per connection since that seems to be the most equitable and transparent way to determine and make the grant dollar request. Next slide. One of the stipulations in the grant package was that the project must demonstrate a quantifiable groundwater savings. Arizona Water Company believes that this implementation of the project will give us an increased system visibility with real-time collection and leak and repair data. We'll also be collecting production well meter reads. We will compare this collected data with the sales data, and we'll be able to see clearly a reduction in pumping. Of course, there are many variables outside our control, such as weather, but having the ability to work to make repairs more quickly should present us with decreased pumping since more water is kept in the distribution system. In the application document, we have had a conservative plan to reduce groundwater pumping by 2% per year, giving us savings of 1,228 acre-feet for the PINAL AMA and 2,060 acre-feet across the three AMAs during the 4-year grant reporting period. Lastly, an added benefit to implementing this project has to do with the communities that we serve. Many of them are also using ArcGIS for their municipal purposes, so it makes sense that we would also implement the product so that we can better facilitate the movement of our data in visualizing and planning. We're excited to move forward with our project, and we hope that the Groundwater User Advisory Committee will recommend it to the Director of Water Resources to receive the Water Management Assistant Program Groundwater Conservation Grant. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Clinton.
Let me start down the roll and go to Mr. Collins first.
Yes, Mr. Wild, the software itself, is that going to be housed in your Phoenix office? Or is that going to be, so it won't be in the individual service, you know, like in the Casa Grande system, your office down here in Casa Grande won't have that software within its operation?
So the way that it will be put together is we'll have an enterprise and it will be stored in the cloud, which all of our information will be accessible using different apps and different online platforms, but the actual data will be stored in a database that will be on a cloud.
So say your employees then in the GRANDE system would upload into the cloud whatever leaked data they had for that day, and it would automatically roll into your GIS system?
There will be a kind of quality and just kind of a way to make sure that what their information that they're putting in is going to be checked. But after that data looks good, then it will be posted into the system. So it'll be a direct link, but there will be some kind of quality control that goes into it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Let me ask Ms. Guthrie, any questions?
I don't have any additional questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, on the asset inventory, 128 wells, how many of those are actually in the PINAL AMA?
Great question, Chairman. I will need to go in and get that data and give it back to you. Is that okay if I do that? I don't have my computer in front of me right now.
Mr. Chairman, can I chime in? It's Melinda Whittington. I'm sorry.
Please.
Go ahead.
Sure. So we have over 30 active wells in the PINAL AMA currently.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Was that it, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Riggins.
No comments this time.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess if just to close out the questions from the council, I apologize if it feels like I'm putting you on the spot with regard to this specific application, but it occurs to me that the three projects for which you applied for WMAP funding are pretty closely linked together. So my question about the ArcGIS is, where would you rank this between the three of them? Is this the foundation? Is this something that is ancillary to another project, another element, or another application, which is perhaps more important?
Thank you for your question, Chairman and the committee. I think that kind of depends on, I mean, for me, being a GIS analyst, I really want this project to go through because I really see the benefit of it. But I will go ahead and let Belinda, Belinda, would you be okay answering my question?
Sure. So Arizona Water Company has really decided to aggressively pursue technology over the next few years as a way for us to continue our conservation efforts. I think that the ArcGIS is a fantastic platform that will allow us to collect more data so that we can focus our conservation message and also implement some of the capital improvement projects that we have coming up. You know, they're like children, right? Like we have three of them and they're all valid and they're all awesome. And because these are enterprise-wide, particularly with the ArcGIS, they're not contingent upon the grant funds. So like, I can't really say that one is more important than another. We have heard comments because we did apply to the other AMA committees that we serve in, and they sort of lean toward things that are touchable, like the leak detection equipment that you'll come up with next. So anyway, that's kind of where they were leaning, but I don't, any of them are awesome.
Okay, I understand. Spoken like a parent. You don't love anyone more than the other. I guess the last question I have is, once again, is this project scalable?
It absolutely is. The intention for us is definitely to move forward with or without WMAP. It would just help us accomplish our goal. But yes, we are perfectly okay to accept maybe a lesser award in order to facilitate someone else also benefiting from the program.
Thank you for your clarifications and your responses. If there are no further questions from any of the council members, Ms. Sykes, let's move on to leak detection replacement project.
Okay, we have Lee Hetrick with Arizona Water Company with the leak detection project.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. Well, hello and greetings to Mr. Snyder, the chairman, and the council. I just want to thank you for this opportunity to give this presentation. This is the ADWR Water Management Assistance Program Groundwater Conservation Grant presentation for leak detection equipment replacement. Next slide, please. Okay, so Arizona Water Company is requesting a grant to purchase new leak detection equipment to replace its current equipment, which has reached the end of its useful life. As part of the third and fourth management plans for AMAs in Arizona, a comprehensive leak detection program is listed in Category 4 of Best Management Practices for Physical System Evaluation and Improvement. Arizona Water Company has consistently been working to expand the effectiveness of its leak detection programs, not only in the AMAs, but across all of its systems in Arizona. This grant will allow the company to purchase new sets of equipment for the PINAL AMA systems. The equipment sets consist of correlators, loggers, and ground microphones. Next slide, please. Okay. Arizona Water Company operates 22 water systems in the state of Arizona and serves a population of approximately 250,000. In the PINAL active management area, the company has 4 water systems: PINAL Valley, Stanfield, Tierra Grande, and Coolidge Airport. Next slide, please. Okay. So in a water distribution system that has never used leak detection equipment, the water loss can easily exceed 30% of the water pumped from its production wells. The water loss from each non-surfacing leak will increase with time, and new leaks from aging pipelines occur continually. Typical non-surfacing water leaks range in size from 1/2 gallon per minute to 20 gallons per minute. To grasp the amount of water lost by these leaks, consider that a tiny, small leak of just 1/2 gallon per minute will lose 260,000 gallons per year. A more average size leak, a 10 gallon per minute leak, is equal to 5.2 million gallons or 16 acre feet of lost water in a year. That's just from one leak. Next slide, please. Okay, with water resources being increasingly stressed due to climate change and growing populations, water utilities must become water efficient throughout the entire supply process. By employing improved methods of water loss control, water utilities have the potential to reduce the large volumes of groundwater that are lost to leakage. Water loss control is an increasingly important field of practice that is being heavily promoted within the drinking water utility industry. Next slide, please. Not all water leakage on underground mains and services finds its way to the surface. Large quantities of water are lost each day from leaks that are not detected because the lost water does not surface. This is a visualization of an underground leak, of the sound that an underground leak makes when using leak detection equipment in the field. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, locating and repairing non-surfacing water leaks in a distribution system is a vitally important conservation endeavor. Identifying non-surfacing water leaks is very challenging and requires a considerable number of experienced staff, plus the use of advanced leak detection equipment. Arizona Water has a proven record of finding non-surfacing leaks using portable correlators, loggers, and geophones to progress across the entire distribution system to search for pipeline leaks. The equipment is attached to contact points along the way, such as curb stop valves, mainline valves, and fire hydrants. In any water distribution system, this is a daunting task because the entire distribution system must be covered from beginning to end, over and over. In the case of the Pinal Valley system, there are 691 miles of main and service lines. So the process can take many months or even exceed a year's time, and then it must be repeated. Our Stanfield and TIERRA Grande systems have 5 and 9 miles of pipe, respectively. Our Coolidge Airport system is the smallest in the AMA at 1.3 miles of pipe. In order to effectively find and identify non-surfacing leaks, modern equipment must be used. Next slide, please. Our equipment replacement project for the Pinal AMA includes a variety of equipment for each of the systems inside the AMA. The total project cost is $240,623, and Arizona Water is requesting the grant cost share be $120,311. Since most of the systems are adjacent to our Casa Grande and Coolidge work reporting locations, we plan to divide the equipment up in the following manner. 4 Ecologics for the Casa Grande work group, 2 Ecologics for Coolidge work group, 3 geophones for Casa Grande work group, 2 geophones for Coolidge work group, 2 Z-Core loggers for Casa Grande work group, 1 Z-Core logger for Coolidge work group, 3 tablets for Casa Grande work group, and 2 tablets for the Coolidge work group. Next slide, please. Arizona Water Company reports its well, production, and conservation efforts annually for each of its systems. The lost and unaccounted for water is also reported. It will be clear to see the pre-project implementation and post-project implementation groundwater savings based on repaired or replaced pipe. While it is unrealistic to anticipate unaccounted for water loss will be 0%, it is very realistic to anticipate a 2 to 3% reduction in unaccounted for lost water with this project. The example of groundwater savings using a conservative 2% savings in the table below shows that the company can plan to save 2,060 acre feet over a 4-year term. An example of the effectiveness of new leak finding equipment, the Apache Junction system implemented 1 new Ecologic leak finder RT correlator set in 2016 and found that the equipment helped it reduce its lost and unaccounted water to 6.8% in 2017 and was down from 10.64% in 2014, I'm sorry. The other systems in the AMA service areas are using old equipment that has come to the end of its useful life, and it is clear that lost and unaccounted for water percentages have been climbing for the past couple of years, with the Pinal Valley system being the highest loss at 12.1% in 2017. However, groundwater pumping and demand in Apache Junction have been declining over the past 3 years, while the overall connections have been rising. Next slide, please. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation. Excited about this project, saving groundwater. And I hope that you recommend this to the director for this grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick. We invite members of the council to ask any questions or make comments that they might have. Let's begin with Mr. Collins.
Yes. Just for clarification, the equipment that you would purchase using the PINAL AMA funds would stay within the PINAL AMA. They wouldn't be shared with, say, Apache Junction, which is in the Phoenix AMA, or other systems outside the PINAL AMA.
Okay, I was describing one example of some of this new equipment that Apache Junction purchased and used, and they already own that. And we did approach the Phoenix AMA for the same grant to replace some of their older equipment.
So Mr. Collins, to answer your question more directly, you are correct. We would keep all of the equipment received inside the PINAL AMA at the Coolidge and Casa Grande systems, respectively.
Thank you. That's the only question I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, this is pretty sophisticated equipment. Do you have the personnel ready to be trained staff to actually put this in place?
Oh yes, back on slide 7, that's actually an actual photograph of one of our operators using the equipment. And Arizona Water Company, we do have a proven track record of finding non-surfacing leaks using this equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Guthrie.
Did you call on me?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, I do have a question. When you say, Lee, that there's a 2% reduction of loss, is that 2% of total water used? Is that 2% of what you estimate the current loss to be? Can you just explain that to me?
Yeah, I'm sure Melinda can chime in, but the percentage I was describing is unaccounted for lost water that we pump. Correct?
Okay.
Melinda?
Yes, that's true. We took a look at our current losses and we're trying to reduce that unaccounted for volume rather than the overall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
More questions, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Mr. Riggins.
Yes, Chairman Snyder. Just looking at the PINAL AMA, it looks like your stated actual savings through leak detection would be 1,228 acre feet over 4 years. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
That's just slightly over 300 acre feet per year in the PINAL AMA.
Correct.
And also, all 3 of these grants basically deal with reducing leaks. So the numbers in all 3 of these, they certainly overlap some, do they not? They wouldn't be totally cumulative of each other, but they would all be included somewhat by the different techniques in eliminating and reducing leaks. Is not correct?
Am I able to answer that?
Go ahead, Lee.
Certainly.
So this equipment helps us find leaks that don't surface, that nobody knows about. It could take years for it to surface, or pumps to start pumping so much that operators start looking for leaks that they think they have. Every leak that's identified with this equipment and repaired is a direct water savings that reduces the pumping. It will lower the unaccounted for water loss in a system, which also equates to lower groundwater pumping.
I understand that, but for the same concept in working on getting more accurate water meters, if you have meters that are gauging the pumping of a certain well, and you know where all that goes to, that also tells you there's a leak. Is that not correct?
Yeah, well, if your production wells meter use that goes out into the distribution system, and from there, you know, you have water sales and water usage, and but you're going to have unaccounted for water that it can be for several different reasons. But one of the really nasty culprits are these leaks that don't surface that we have to use this equipment with. Those types of leaks, that type of water loss really can't be corrected without the use of this equipment before they really increase the unaccounted for water.
I understand that, and I understand how this equipment does help you to identify where a non-surfacing leak actually is. But these other systems through collection of data also show you where you have systems that have higher than expected unaccounted for water losses. Is that not correct?
Oh, well, yeah, I could say this, Clayton, I don't know if he's still around on the line here, but so we identify these leaks and we record the data and we create a database of where these leaks occurred. And pretty soon we've collected enough information to identify where we have pipelines that could be scheduled for replacement because they've had so many leaks. We know where to budget and spend our money to replace these pipelines. That's one way this stuff goes hand in hand.
And I agree with you 100%. I think all of these grants do indeed go hand in hand.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riggins.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask another question?
Certainly, Ms. Guthrie.
So help me to understand, but it seems to me that this leak detection equipment is probably working on pipelines before they get to some residents, whereas the meter replacement project is measuring losses after it reaches the residents and is being lost somewhere in a different place, in a different vicinity. Is that accurate or am I misunderstanding?
I'd like to expand on that a little bit. Correct. This is leaks on the water distribution system, on the supply side of the meter. However, this equipment, it's very routine to detect leaks on the customer side. For an example, on slide 7, I think that's still up, that Ecologics leak finder is listening for leaks between 2 contact points. And it can also pick up a leak on the customer side of the meter. In which case our operators would go knock on the door and talk to the customer and tell them that, hey, we've detected a leak on your side of the meter while we were out here doing leak survey on our lines. So that's pretty common.
Okay, so then the numbers that we're looking at in terms of savings, I think someone said it earlier, they would actually overlap. Some of the water that we're saving under the meter replacement project might be the same water that we would save under this project.
Yeah, I want to word this carefully. This is my project and we have the other projects, but this equipment directly finds leaks that we repair that immediately stop water loss. It's kind of where the rubber hits the road in reducing water loss. And then the data we collect, we use for identifying areas that are giving us problems, and which in turn we budget and spend money on pipe replacements to prevent future leaks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Mr. Hedrick, I have 1.5 questions.
Okay.
First of all, I I think you clarified something for me with your last answer. My question was going to be, does your staff actually physically walk or drive along each of those lines in order to listen? And I think that's not accurate, because now I'm here. I thought I heard something about 2 contact points, and you listen to the distance between.
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, because leak detection is a big part of my world. That photograph on slide 7, that equipment's on the tailgate of a pickup truck. So what they do is they'll create their contact points. It could be a curb valve, it could be a main valve, a fire hydrant valve, and he's listening between those 2 contact points. And he'll listen, and then if he doesn't pick anything up, he'll kind of leapfrog down the street so that he doesn't skip anything. And sometimes, quite often, they'll have to back up and change contact points. One thing I preach to our crews is don't try to find leaks, find leaks. You know, don't go out there and just try to back up footage of pipe that you've leak surveyed. But take your time, back up if you have to, change your contact points and find leaks. But that's what he's doing, and they actually physically go through the entire distribution system from point to point with this type of equipment. The geophones are the same way, and so are the loggers.
Thank you, sir. One last question, and it's somewhat to follow up on a question, I believe, from Mr. Collins, and that is, I know that you have staff undertaking leak detection now. With the addition of this new technology, are you going to have to add additional staff to fully flesh out the leak detection project as you see it?
I would say we don't need to add new staff. Right now we're starved for upgrading some equipment that would help us out right now. New staff would be something that we would look at in the future. Right now we're just focused on upgrading our equipment.
Okay, thank you. And I believe I have the answer to this one from Ms. Whittington in a previous project, but is this scalable? Is this project scalable?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's move on then. If there's no further questions from council, we will now go to the next application, which is pumping efficiency project, infrastructure modernization and SCADA upgrades, my favorite. Ms. Sykes.
All right. Sorry, she's going to introduce me. Good afternoon. My name's Tony Solano. I manage the Maricopa Staff Irrigation and Drainage District, and I'd like to thank the GUAC members for giving us the opportunity to make our presentation. And George, and I'll be available for questions after. So I'm going to turn it over to George. Thank you.
Hello, this is George Cairo. Can you guys hear us okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next slide, please. So this is a presentation outline of what we're presenting today for the Maricopa Stanfield Irrigation and Drainage District. We're going to go through a quick district introduction, a project overview. We'll go through the scope of work involved in our proposal, the budget. I'll offer a closing statement, and then we will be here to answer any questions you may have. Next slide. So Maricopa-Stanfield Irrigation and Drainage District is located within the PINAL AMA in the northwesterly side near the town of Maricopa. We encompass about 400 square miles of surface area. Our system has approximately 75 miles of main stem, 200 miles of gravity laterals, 20 miles of pipelines, and about 160 wells that we use currently in service. We have control of others. That's how much are in service at the time. Now, the irrigation district was established underneath the State of Arizona Water Code, and we are a non-profit organization. So our source of revenues are strictly from assessments of lands within the district boundaries, and then obviously the provision of water for irrigation. Next slide. So in general, project overview, we have our district challenges, goals, and the plans moving forward. So our challenges with respect to water resources is obviously long-term water supply and viability of the district. We also have infrastructure, as do most water agencies. But we also have the current challenge of regional drought response and trying to support not only the local groundwater, but also regional surface water drought issues. So the goals of this project are to continue to provide reliable water supplies to our customers. And we want to be able to do that in a manner that we can meet both present and future demands in an efficient and also responsible manner. So our plans are to encompass and begin a multi-phase modernization project for the district. And part of phase one involves this grant application. Next slide. So phase one of our pumping efficiency project and involves infrastructure modernization and SCADA upgrades. So we are putting together a SCADA system upgrade that involves both the monitoring and control of the gravity delivery system, which is the canals network, pipeline network, and we want to now integrate the groundwater system into that. So in order to accomplish that, our grant request involves the replacement of existing aged or poorly functioning meters on wells and turnouts. Now, these new meters are going to be state-of-the-art, where they improve measurement and they're ready for SCADA integration. And so with this, they will allow us to reduce pumping in the district. Next slide. So ultimately, what the project will do is it will yield groundwater conservation within the PINAL AMA. It also involves the introduction of high-tech SCADA, state-of-the-art meters, and then also, in addition to that, we will have modern control technologies. So these are new means and methods that have been developed over the years to manage not only the water in the canal, but also the integration of the wells and controlling that all in a scheme that leads to better water management. We feel that all this is in line with the PINAL AMA goals. The results of the project is multi-benefit, and it will have a high positive impact to the local groundwater. In addition, the project affords us the cost-sharing opportunities with other partners. Next slide, please. So this is a chart that basically shows the acre feet that have been delivered to our customers over the last 10 years. Well water supply is shown in orange, and the blue is surface water supplies. So, you know, these have ranged lately in the range of 100,000 to 125,000 acre feet that are pumped. So over time, our surface water resources are going to diminish, and we are going to pump more water. And so this is the right time for us to embark on this modernization project and improve the groundwater management so that it can carry forth as we begin to embark on the additional pumping that will be required. As a quick example, our overall target right now is to try and become 5% more efficient with this modernization project. If we're able to do that, then we would be able, on average, to save about 6,250 acre-feet per year. Next slide. So other stakeholders and financial partners in our project, obviously, the first player is ourselves. We also have CAIDD, who is a small share partner. We have the Auction Indian community that's within the boundaries of the district, and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, which is integral to the project itself. So with our stakeholders and our stakeholders, we have more than 50% of the matching funds that are being requested. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that as part of this process, ADWR and the GUAC will also become partners in our exciting project. Next slide. So in this first phase, the scope of work involves task 1, which is the SCADA system upgrade. That is something that we've already started, and it's implementing, including the whole SCADA control and everything else that's involved with that upgrade, the software, et cetera. Task 2, which is specific to this proposal, is our well flow meter replacements. And those would be the state-of-the-art, new accurate flow meters with SCADA capabilities. We're also looking at task 3, which is replacing turnout flow measurement devices. And also part of that task, we're looking at well groundwater level manual probes for us to better manage and keep data with groundwater levels. Task 4 ends up being a well pipeline network that will tie all these wells together. It would be all SCADA and provide on-demand on and on-demand off water supply from the wells, which will yield the direct savings in groundwater pumping. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick example of how modernizing these wells with flow meters that have SCADA could save us water. So this example shows a schematic lateral that's 5 miles in length. This lateral would be located a certain distance from the district headquarters where the operators reside. In this example, over these 5 miles, the example shows that 4 wells need to be shut off. The only way to shut these wells off is manually. And so from the time that we get the request to shut the wells off, there's a time response. The time to get a hold of the Zanjero, the time for that individual to mobilize, the time to travel safely to the site, and then do all the actions that result in a shutdown of 4 wells over a 5-mile reach of the system, somewhere within the 400 square miles of the project. So that example there, in a best case scenario, it would take us 2 hours to respond to that request of shutting down those wells. If we had these wells on the SCADA system where we could remotely shut them off, we predict that it would take us 10 minutes from phone call to request to shutting off the wells. So the delta in pumping is approximately 1.67 acre-feet just in that one instance. So it's a kind of a direct, simple example to show you how implementing this program would save us pumping energy and also save pumping groundwater out of the aquifer here in the AMA. Another scenario that causes us pumping losses is if you take this same lateral and you have an emergency event. So for example, the monsoon season's upon us. If you have a monsoon event and it comes up rapidly and it happens all the time and we have to shut down the wells. So in that case, you'd have to shut all of the wells, which would be in this case 8 wells. Sometimes you can't get to them because of the inclement weather. You can't get there safely because of muddy roads, et cetera, and so it could take you hours, and sometimes in a really bad case, you may have to leave the wells on for safety until you maybe can get to them the following day. So that adds up to significant amounts of water that end up being wasted. If you can't balance them in the system, then they end up being spilled, and it's unfortunately water that gets pumped. In that scenario, you know, this 1.67 acre feet could easily be 2, 3, 4 times that amount in one event. And that's only one event in one lateral in one portion of the district. Next slide, please. So this is our overall budget breakdown. And we have the whole budget that kind of shows you the contributions of the stakeholders and everything else. I just draw your attention to line item D. So line item D is, in task 2 and 3, is our budgets that we're looking at to implement the meters and the groundwater level sensors for this proposal. As you can see, the total for that is $600,000, but our request is what's available in the grant proposal, a total of $150,000. Next slide, please. So, in closing, I just wanted to bring up a few points that we feel that the implementing of the installation of these meters that are SCADA ready and the whole integration will result in improved groundwater management. It will also support the Pinal County food and fiber production and the local economy. With it, we'll be able to pump responsibly to conserve water and power, and it will help us with part of our mission, which is being good stewards of natural resources. Ultimately, it will also support the long-term groundwater sustainability of the aquifer and the region, and this will be with the use of state-of-the-art technology that we're excited about. In closing, we're grateful for the opportunity and appreciative of your anticipated support. And with that, the last slide, we would be happy to take any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Tony. Let me invite questions from the council. Mr. Collins.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions at this time.
Well, thank you. Mr. Anderson.
The only question I have is whether or not we will have enough water. That's the big question. Long term. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing no one rush to answer that question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Guthrie.
If only we had an answer to that question.
Amen.
Please try.
Yeah, I do not have any questions for Tony or George. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Mr. Riggins.
Yes, Chairman Snyder. Wanted to confirm a couple of the statistics that I saw there, or heard, I should say. The annual savings I heard for this phase of a multi-phase program, I believe I heard that number to be 6,250 acre feet per year.
That number is 5%. That number is, you heard the number correct, sir? So that number is 5% right now of our volume of our pumping at this point in time. And so if we implement our project, which includes the networking of the pipes, the completion of SCADA, and the introduction of all these meters, we are confident that we can achieve a reduction in pumping of at least 5%. That's our goal. And that number will increase as pumping increases as well.
Oh, I understand that concept. But since we're looking at a grant for just one phase of this, could you scale that number to what this phase is going to be doing?
Yeah, so I think that this phase would be about 30% of that number, sir.
Okay, so somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1,900 acre feet then.
Yeah, I would say about 2,000 acre feet would be a good round number, yes, sir.
Okay, 2,000 acre feet per year, and also of this $150,000 that's being requested, you have matching funds from other places that actually are 3/4 of the amount. This amount you're requesting is only a 1/4 amount. Is that correct also?
Yes. Yes, the other money will be coming from other stakeholders, correct.
Yeah, but this 150 is a 25%, the rest of it is 75%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Riggins. I had two quick questions. First of all, Tony, George, what do you expect the life expectancy of the for the equipment that you are planning to and the technology that you're planning to acquire?
Well, just to give you an idea, the equipment that we still have in place is about 30 years old. So we expect a number at least.
Yeah. The life cycle usually, we would plan for a 25-year life cycle. And so that means during those last 5 years, we would start to look at the replacement costs.
Okay. I noticed.
So about a 25-year horizon, sir.
Thank you. That I appreciate that answer. I noticed nobody's making that kind of guarantee for the technology, but that's very prudent of you. You've heard me perhaps ask this question of other applicants. Is this project scalable? Could it be reduced in scope and cost if the council decides to mix and match applications against the pool of money available?
Yes, yes, sir. It's very easily scalable because we have different laterals of different lengths with different numbers of wells. We have some other areas of concentration, so it's completely scalable down, and so I don't think we have any problem with that.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Ms. Sykes, let's move on to the fifth application using project-based STEM education.
Yes, Carrie Schwartz will be presenting on behalf of Arizona Project WET from the University of Arizona.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Carrie Schwartz, and I've directed the Arizona Project WET program for the past 20 years. Miriam Alaman is my colleague and serves as the education coordinator for our Pinal County program. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present today, and thank you for your service on the Pinal AMA GUAC. The proposal that I'm presenting today is called the Groundwater Education Conservation Program, and I'll refer to it as the GEC from here on. As you may already know, Arizona Project WET is part of, would you please advance? Yeah, thank you. Is part of the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension and the Water Resources Research Center, as Mr. Snyder mentioned. Our mission is to develop water stewardship and STEM literacy through 3 pathways: teacher professional development that evolves instructional practices and deepens content knowledge, direct student outreach that delivers or extends in-classroom instruction, and community engagement. Cooperative extension programs like APW are developed based on needs assessments. And throughout the state, there's a great need for water education and conservation programs. Next. APW's Pinal County program was born in 2009 thanks to funding from Abbott, which has a facility in Casa Grande. Ross Laboratories became a part of the industrial community in Casa Grande in 1984 and evolved into Abbott Laboratories. Initially, Abbott funding was focused on building water education programs in Casa Grande. Their reliable contribution for the past 10 years has enabled us to leverage new partnerships and diversify funding to expand programming across Pinal County. We've established 4 water festivals in the county with additional funding from Iman Prison Complex, Nissan Corporation, and Global Water Resources. Since the inception of the Pinal County program, water savings has been our priority. Next. This graphic provides a look at some of our program impacts. Let's start in the lower right corner. We've saved nearly 12 million gallons per year through students' action, thanks to Abbott's focus on community water conservation. Both the school and home water audit programs provide students with water-efficient aerators for bathroom faucets. When we say projected here, we mean that the number is based on a flow rate measurement, estimated use, and mathematics. So this is STEM education at its best. Since 2009, we've directly engaged about 68,500 students, mainly through our Water Festival program. The Water Festival program includes a 7-hour teacher academy on the 2-week-long curriculum unit that teachers implement in the classroom. 92% of the 176 teachers we've reached say it's the best workshop they've ever attended. Also, we've recruited and trained over 1,500 community volunteers who've engaged 4th graders in learning about groundwater, watersheds, water conservation technology, and the water cycle. The new GEC program will build on the groundwater education that we've developed and utilize components of the school and home water audits to continue to increase water savings in Pinal County. Next slide, please. Middle school and high school students who've developed a foundational knowledge of the water cycle in 4th grade will have a chance in the GEC program to deepen their understanding of their water resources. STEM-oriented project-based learning will engage older students in learning the complexities of the groundwater system and water management. They'll take action to save water and be inspired to learn about water careers. Our audit and groundwater education programs have been implemented in other AMAs and have generated tangible water savings. The projected annual water savings over the 4 years of the GEC program will be 1 million gallons per year. Next slide, please. The program will focus on 3 schools or 9 classes starting in Casa Grande the first year. Each class will receive 3 APW facilitated experiences. In the following years, we'll move to other communities and other school districts. Quantitative and qualitative assessments will be used to track learning gains for each component, as well as for overall program effectiveness. Next slide, please. The groundwater system is one of the most difficult parts of the water cycle to comprehend. APW has a long history of teaching about this unseen system and has published journal articles on the subject. We use models to explore the parts of the groundwater system, the relationships between those parts, and its relationships to other Earth systems. The big ideas include groundwater flows laterally underground due to gravity, groundwater moves through pore spaces, the groundwater and surface water systems are connected, groundwater is part of the water cycle, and we care about groundwater because we use it. This new groundwater lesson will incorporate Pinal PINAL AMA's unique water management perspective and cover current challenges like subsidence and groundwater recharge. Next slide, please. Water conservation technology will be introduced through an interactive presentation delivered by the APW Education Coordinator. Students will be engaged in inquiry about why we may want to save water and how it can be saved. They'll explore water efficient technologies like those shown on this slide. And they'll gain an appreciation of water conservation technology as a primary way to save water at home and on farms. Next slide, please. Water audits are ideal STEM learning experiences that bring real-world relevancy into instruction. Students estimate the frequency and duration of bathroom faucet use. They'll measure faucet flow with existing aerators, without an aerator, and with new water-efficient aerators provided by APW. Then they'll use mathematical thinking to analyze data and determine water savings due to aerator replacement. Through this eye-opening investigation, they gain an interest in water-efficient technology and water savings practices. These water audits can be conducted at school and at home. In our experience, students are clearly impacted by the water savings they see from a simple aerator change. Next slide, please. Miriam and I are aware, as we plan for this program, that we face unprecedented challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But due to the shelter in place directive that began in March for us, we're already working to offer meaningful learning experiences online. Our new water scene investigation program can be used directly by students, by families at home, or by teachers as a homework assignment. This learning platform offers a step-by-step process that includes requesting a free kit, learning to install your aerator and audit your faucet, reporting your savings online, and comparing it to other families' data or other classrooms' data. The Every Drop Counts leak detection program is a newly developed STEM investigation that can also save a lot of water. We'll be prepared to deliver our DEC program no matter what mode of instruction we're in. Next slide, please. In conclusion, why support the proposed DEC project in PINAL AMA? Because we've got the experience and know-how to inspire people to become water stewards and install water-saving technology to save our precious groundwater. We have a long history of program reliability and have developed knowledge and skill gains in Pinal County. We know how to inspire students through real-world and relevant project-based learning that they remember into the future. We'll build on foundational knowledge developed through the Water Festival program at 4th grade and deepen content knowledge about our water resources. We make people aware that simple, affordable technology has actually decreased water use across the United States, and that smart solutions can make big changes. With our programs, it's Pinal County students that will develop real water savings. And our programs are built and evaluated based on objectives developed through logic models. We provide reports on the impacts we produce. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your time and support. And the next slide provides our contact information, and we'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. Before we proceed with questions, I'd like to remind the council that I've declared a conflict of interest with regard to this project, and so I will neither vote nor discuss on it. Mr. Collins, do you have any questions?
No, I was actually going to touch base with a question with respect to the COVID-19 situation, but she has addressed that concern, so no problem, no questions.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
I don't have a specific question, Mr. Chairman. I think it's been 45 years ago, there was a little survey taken when I was first on the GUAC, determining people's habits of using water in the home. The slide a while ago mentioned kitchen and bathroom use. Any of us who have watched the television recently, we've seen this fellow walking down the street in a suit looked like a commode, knocking water out of a lady's hand. I was astounded the fact that some people used a commode as a wastebasket. That time they were using a Kleenex, throwing it in a commode and flushing it each time. This is the type of use that is extreme, but through education, I'm still young enough to be educated to the point that I could use water conservation for the rest of my life every day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, could I say a word to Mr. Anderson?
Certainly.
Mr. Anderson, we have a colleague named Pam Justice who sends you her regards.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you both. Ms. Guthrie.
Hi, Carrie. So I want to confirm that you said there would be anticipated 1 million gallons per year savings, which all my other water experts on the panel, can you confirm that that's about 3 acre-feet a year?
Jackie, I actually that's 36.6 acre-feet per year. This is Bill calling.
36.6, okay. Thank you. No other questions?
Miss, was there a follow-up there?
No, no other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Riggins.
Yes, I would like to get back to the number that we talked about. What is the estimated water savings per year for this program?
After the 4 years, it'll be 1 million gallons.
For 1 million gallons of savings in 4 years.
Yes.
So that's roughly 250,000 gallons per year.
That's correct.
And that's less than an acre foot.
That's, I believe it's like, yeah, I think
yeah, an acre foot's 325,000 and some change gallons.
Yeah. Yeah.
325,851 to be exact.
Yeah, yes, that's correct. So it's less than an acre foot per year savings.
Yes, Mr. Riggins, that's true. We're very proud as educators to have a program that actually saves quantifiable water. And compared to infrastructure, we're not going to get as much savings. I will say that they are conservative estimates. As you saw, we've saved 12 million so far through school water audits in the Casa Grande area. It doesn't include the new leak detection program. Again, problems quantifying that because the size of the water savings in homes is so overshadowed by outdoor water use, and we can't get those numbers through meter readings. And so we've got to find ways that we can actually quantify it through science. And so that's what we've done with this home water audit and school water audit program.
Thank you very much, and I'm also glad we quantified some numbers. So thank you, Chairman Snyder.
You're welcome, Mr. Riggins. Okay. I believe we are now at the point where we will have a discussion first from the council and then invite questions or comments from the public. But to begin with, Ms. Sykes, Ms. Henningsen, do you have any comments or general information that you'd like the council to consider as it begins its discussions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing necessarily to cover beyond what we introduced in the beginning, but Melissa is now pulling the sheet that this is where she'll enter some of the comments that GUAC members are going to talk about. And as you go through the project, this information will be entered. I would want to remind you all, it's probably very small for you to see. You could, at the left side, you'll see a zoom in, zoom out icon. So you could zoom into certain areas of the spreadsheet so you could see better the comments and the numbers. And with that, I'll turn it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Henningsen. All right. Since we seem to have established a pattern here, let's look at the first project, which is the meter replacement project. Oh my. And invite comments, rankings, etc. Mr. Collins.
I'm inclined to rank it fairly low. I'm thinking a 1.
Okay. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chair, this is I'm just so you know, number 5 is the lowest, and number 1 is the highest. So I'll put it at 5 for Collins.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Mr. Collins, care to do that again?
Yes, if that's the lowest ranking, yes, number 5 is fine.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Anderson.
on the water movement, I placed that on my chart, number 5 as well, for 2 or 3 reasons. When those meters were purchased, they had a life expectancy built in, and I think good professional management, a budget, an item on their budget has been built in and should have been built in to gradually phase in new meters.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Guthrie. Oh, let's wait until, have you captured that, Ms. Sykes?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, based upon my review over the weekend of all 5 projects, I too had that project listed as number 5.
Okay. Mr. Riggins.
I would confer with the other council persons that I believe that likewise should be ranked number 5.
And I will make it a unanimous ranking of number 5. Clearly, this element of the operation of a water provider is critical. It's a data-driven operation across the board. So having accurate metering is critical. However, I believe that it's part and parcel of the normal SOP for a utility. So moving on then to, I'm sorry, did I hear somebody wanting to make a comment? Seeing none, let's move to the Esri ArcGIS field rollout project. Mr. Collins.
In my mind, that above the previous one. I gave that one a 4. Once again, I see that more as a operational function of the water company, that it really is something that any water provider that size would want to undertake. So it's not a unique project for sure.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also placed that that item on a number 4 category. I'm sorry. Number 4.
Thank you. Ms. Guthrie.
Mr. Chairman, based on my previous calculations, I had that as a number 3.
Okay. Mr. Riggins.
Yes, Chairman Snyder, just for clarification, so I understand things correctly. Once something has been called number 5, does that mean that nothing else can be called number 5? I see Ms. Sykes shaking her head in the affirmative. That means if something has been called 5, if I want to rank this the lowest that I can, then it becomes number 4. Is that the way this is working?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
in that
correct,
case,
Mr. Reagan.
okay, I put this right exactly the same position as the project before it, but if we've already ranked that number 5, then I guess I have to call this number 4.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. Riggins, I would like to point out that at any time during the discussions, GUAC members may change their vote. So, Mr. Riggins, if you decide that one project should be a different number, you can either state it now or during the discussion. And maybe to clarify your question a little more, so we have 5 projects that we're now looking at or evaluating. Each one of those will receive a number from each member from 1 to 5. 1 is the highest priority that you as a member see for that project, and 5 is the lowest. So according to your thoughts as to which projects should receive funding from this grant, you would score those projects accordingly.
I understand, and what that means is basically no projects by one councilman can be a tie. They have to be a 1 through 5.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you for the clarification.
Did you wish to change anything, Mr. Riggins?
No.
Okay. I actually am torn with this one because of the overall consequence to the data collection. I felt I felt conflicted. I initially thought I would put it at number 3, but as I listened to the project presentations, I think I will leave it at 3. Thank you. All right, leak detection equipment replacement project. Mr. Collins.
My feeling is, of the 3 Arizona Water Company proposals, that the amount of groundwater savings that you could achieve between the 3 proposals, this would be the one that would be highest in my mind, especially since I'm working with some other water systems that where leak detection is critical. I was going to give that one a 3.
Thank you, sir. It's now duly registered. Mr. Anderson.
I hate to be repetitive, but I agree with Mr. Collins that that is the highest priority of the 3 from Arizona Water Company, and I also give it a 3.
Okay. You better be careful. Agreeing with Mr. Collins can be. Ms. Guthrie.
So based on today's presentation, and contrary to my numbers over the weekend that I put together, I was most impressed with this presentation of the 3 from Arizona Water Company. So I would like to give it the 3 and change the ArcGIS to 4, please.
Duly noted. Mr. Riggins.
I would like to value that particular grant ranking at 2.
Very good. I will I believe that what I will do is follow the lead of Ms. Guthrie, and I will put the leak detection at 3 and change my rating of the ArcGIS to 4. Thank you. All right. Pumping efficiency project. Maricopa Stanfield. Mr. Collins.
I looked at this one as being the one that could give us groundwater savings, both initially and over time. So in my mind, all other things being equal, this was my #1 choice.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anderson.
Our water usage is using wet water. It's always going to be available. It depends how efficiently we use it. That is going to keep us from running the cup dry, as in half full. I put MSID at 3 or 2. I'm sorry.
Okay, Ms. Sykes, I see that Mr. Anderson's vote is registered as a 2. Did I mishear him, or? Mr. Anderson, would you repeat your ranking for this project?
#2.
Ah, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Ms. Guthrie.
I rank this project #1.
Thank you. Mr. Riggins.
Thank you, Chairman Snyder. In light that, as we've reviewed water saving potentials through these various grant applications, and this particular one is actually orders of magnitude over the top of anything else, I don't see how it can be anything but #1.
Thank you, sir. I concur on the evaluation. It has multiple partners. It has it has a large impact on the AMA's water budget, and in terms of a marriage of technology and the mechanics and logistics of operating a large provider system, I will rank this as 1.
Mr. Snyder, this is Einav again. Because you can only evaluate 4 projects, we adjust the weights on those as you may see under your name. So this is why it's not the straight raw numbers.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the project-based STEM education. Mr. Collins.
I was torn on this one. I had in my original rankings, having reviewed the written proposals, this was just a couple points behind the previous one we just talked about. the value in the educational component for the long-term security of our water environment, but I was giving this one a 2.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anderson.
We're talking about the STEM?
The project STEM.
I rated that 1 for 2 or 3 reasons. Looking at the possibility of not totally funding all of them and partially funding 1 or 2 or 3. Money could be used to actually forward both of those projects. I put it number 1.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Guthrie.
Mr. Chairman, my previous review, I had this project and the Maricopa Stanfield irrigation within a couple points of each other. So I was in the same position that Mr. Anderson was in. And I'm going to rank this one number 2, but I want to be able to entertain hopefully a discussion about sharing funds between the first 2 placements.
Thank you, and we will, that's the next item of consideration, I believe. Mr. Riggins.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Snyder. I believe that what I have left to stick in the ranking of this grant is number 3.
Okay. All right. Any additional advice, comment from Ms. Henningsen or Ms. Sykes?
Thank you, Chair Snyder. No comments. Melissa is just now or has already organized the project according to ranking, so you can see it in front of you for further discussion.
Thank you. And job well done, Ms. Sykes. Appreciate the flashing fingers. All right. As we had indicated earlier in our meeting today, the department has apparently said that projects could be, that the GUAC could look at perhaps changing the amount of award for a given project in order to advance more than one project. And we've heard from all of the, I believe we heard from all of the projects that their projects are scalable and could be modified or amended. So let me invite council members to think about that, and having done so, what is your pleasure with regard to the amount award? You in the chart you see what in the first column of what they have requested, and it is our job then to talk about the amount that we would recommend to the director. So,
Mr. Chairman, this is Jackie.
please.
I know that we asked the first 4 presenters if their projects were scalable, and maybe I just missed it, but I don't remember that we asked Carrie Schwartz with Project WET if their project was scalable.
Okay. Let me invite Ms. Kerr back to the microphone and see if there's an answer to that.
Yeah, I think the project is scalable. I think what I would suggest is cutting off years since we that takes a while to kind of get into the school system, but if we cut off, start and do the first 2 or 3 years and cut off maybe the 4th year, maybe we can do as we did with the Abbott funding and leverage that initial program to get more funders involved with that. So yes, it is scalable. Thank you, Ms. Guthrie, for asking.
And what, if I may, that reduction would amount to roughly how much?
Well, I mean, really what we're paying for are aerators and a person and people's time to develop things. And so it's really looking at about the same amount per year for the 4 years.
Okay.
The total project budget was the 43,000.
Right. Okay. Does that answer your question, Ms. Guthrie?
Yes, so for the sake of discussion, I would propose that University of Arizona Project WET be awarded $32,000 with the balance going to Maricopa Stanfield Irrigation Drainage District project.
Okay. Let's move back through the batting order. Mr. Collins.
Mr. Chairman, that basically is the same concept I was going to propose. So I would support Jackie's concept.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, that's within the earshot of what I had in mind. Jackie has my vote.
Okay. Mr. Riggins.
Chairman Snyder, it had some slightly different ideas on it. Been hearing 3 council members going in that direction. It's not that far off of what some of my ideas were. I think I can concur with the ideas that have been brought up by the 3 prior council persons.
Okay. And I will make the proposal unanimous. We haven't taken a vote yet, but to put it on the table, I will support that. So the proposal, as I understand it, is funding the Arizona Project WET application at $32,000. With the balance of the $150,000 to go to the Maricopa Stanfield Irrigation District's pumping efficiency project. Okay. Now,
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion of the same.
okay, if I may, before that motion is considered, let me ask Ms. Shepherd if there has been any activity in chat with comments or input from members of the 35 people attending today.
There is no activity in the chat so far.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Hennant, well, I'll call the roll. I've been doing it all day. Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Ms. Guthrie.
Aye.
Mr. Riggins.
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Motion carries unanimously. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our presenters for some excellent applications and proposals. I would hope that as the WMAP project program moves forward. If there are subsequent years of funding, that we will see these and similar projects coming back. They all have a certain amount of promise and potential, and I commend you all and thank you all for your efforts. That now takes us to call to the council. Is there any member of the council that would like to share anything?
Mr. Chairman, it's Jackie. And I would just like to thank all of the applicants for the effort and the work that they put into their proposals and their presentations. And it's unfortunate that we have such limited funds to be able to give out to the applicants.
Agreed.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Anderson?
I want to second Jackie's comments with the exception that without the continued effort, genuine talent from the people that are delivering this water and providing for us, the cup would be only half full. And those folks deserve a definite pat on the back. Working in the temperatures, hot or cold, to deliver that water and be sure that Pinal County water, as it comes out of the ground, reaches us in the most efficient manner possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and well said. Mr. Riggins.
I am pleased we were able to have this deliberation and find an equitable way to take the available funds and hopefully put them in the most applicable and beneficial fashion. Congratulate ADWR and the now AMA in their diligent efforts, and we will take those same concepts and move on to the next challenge that confronts us.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Riggins. Not only will I concur in the sentiments expressed by my fellow council people, but I will also I'd like to take this time to thank ADWR staff, not only for their support in organizing and making possible this grant project and in this meeting. It's a time of stress all the way around, and trying to operate a statewide Department of Water Resources on a more or less virtual basis is daunting, to say the least. I doubt anybody on DWR staff, indeed anybody in any of our organizations, saw this coming, trained for it, and knows how to manage it flawlessly. So thank you all for your efforts. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
I see that we had a comment from Ms. Schwartz. Ms. Shepherd, did you want to share that with the council?
Yeah, of course. We actually have two comments. The first one is from Melinda. She said, thanks to the committee. We appreciate your consideration. And the last one from Ms. Schwartz is, thanks very much to the GUAC and ADWR for your work on this. We appreciate the funding, and we will provide education impacts in Pinal AMA.
Thank you both. We're now obviously moved into the call to the public. Was there any other member of the public that would like to address the GUAC at this point? Please type your name and affiliation into chat, and we'll either unmute you or you can make your comment with your fingers.
Mr. Snyder, this is William Collins. I didn't been quick enough on the call to the council, but I did have a question for DWR. How will the ultimate outcome, you know, when this goes to the director, how will you relay this information back to everybody as to what the final outcome of the selection process?
That's a great question, Mr. Collins. So we hope to provide all 5 GUAC's recommendations to the director in the next few weeks. Actually, PINAL GUAC was the last out of the 5 AMA, so by now we have all of the recommendations. As soon as the director will make a decision, we would provide this information to all applicants and to all GUAC members and stakeholders, probably via email.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Collins. Good question. I apologize for not having given you another chance to ask it. All right. At this point, I do know that there will undoubtedly be another meeting of the GUAC on the horizon. But given the virtual nature of the pandemic and the fluidity of processes, I don't believe that a date certain has been set. I'm sure that the department is contemplating something, and will let us know when that next meeting is. Is that anything to add, Ms. Henningsen?
No, you summed it up great. We will definitely be in touch with GUAC members as soon as we have an idea of a future meeting, and hopefully we'll schedule something on our calendar soon.
Okay. Then on behalf of the members of the council, we wish you all good fortune, good health, safe distancing, masking, and all manner of hand washing and cleansing. Please be safe, be strong, and we will see you around the water pump. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Thank you all. We stand adjourned.
Thank you.